Thanks, Sean, for inviting me for this presentation, for this meeting. For me, clearly, it's a great honor to be here and to talk to a selected number of leaders and experts. Briefly, this is what I would like to share with you today. So I'll start with a brief introduction of myself, sharing a little bit of background of my experience. Then I would like to reflect on one of what I believe is the most critical issue in the medical device sector, trying to examine if there is a solution and which could be the solution. Then I will talk about the digital opportunity, and I would like to be clear here when I'm talking about digital opportunity, I'm talking about only of the digitalization of the commercial process, so sales and marketing, not to the digital application to products or clinical workflow, which is absolutely a very interesting topic, but I think it's outside of the scope of this conversation. Finally, I would like to introduce the CommuniD model. CommuniD is the company that I founded. And just to clarify, this is not a sales pitch, I appreciate. It's more a sharing a philosophy that I'm deeply passionate about. And I hope to receive some feedback from you, suggestions, and also criticism. I'm very open to any of these. So talking about myself very briefly, I don't want to kill you with myself. I'm almost 60 years old, 59 right now, 16 in November. A lifetime dedicated to sales and marketing in the healthcare sector, with a broad experience across large multinational, small, mid-sized companies. I worked in Europe, in the US, in Brazil, in Japan, in Australia, in China, and been actively involved in the sale of 3 companies and the purchase of 2 companies. So I learned a little bit about the sales of companies, and in 2021 I founded CommuniD because I believe that the medical device industry is facing a very deep structural problem that can bring the evolution of our market into the same structure of the pharma market, where only giants are managing sales and marketing distribution, while all the mid-sized companies are simply focused on the first phase of the R&D, basically finding molecules. I think this is wrong. It's wrong for the patient, and it's wrong also for ourselves that are working in this industry. So I'm trying to see if there is a way to support small and mid-sized medical device companies. Although I think that the time is somehow running out, and let me try to explain. If I try to understand what is happening right now, I think it's good to give an overview of what the medical device industry went through in these years. The medical device industry started in the 70s roughly, and we can call the 70s, 80s, 90s until the 2000s the golden era, full of opportunities, minimal friction, and a medical device being a happy place. All right, low regulation barriers, high product prices, strong product differentiation. Then we have the turning point starting in 2010, and I think you will remember some of the big scandals. The French PIP, the breast implants that were exploding in the airplanes, or the metal on metal scandal, and there were a few others. And this was definitely shaking the public trust and the institution confidence. Then at a certain point of time, the innovation started to slow, and the industry, in I appreciate the medical device is very differentiated, but we saw in most of those subsectors a technological plateau. And then the economical pressure that all the healthcare industry are facing with both in Europe and in the US, with the three factors: aging population, increasing cost per single patient, and less payers. That is clearly creating complexity. This brought to what we're seeing today, a commoditization of the solutions. So most of the solutions are basically all the same, a falling of the prices, an increase of the regulations, of the complexity of the regulation, being the FDA, CE marking, TGA, PMDA, Korean FDA, Chinese FDA, you name them. And and one very important element, and many articles are showing that the cost of sales in percentage of revenue in our business is probably the highest across multiple technology markets. And when I'm saying the highest, I'm talking about 200 times higher than, I don't know, a nuclear power industry. So something that cannot really be justified with the nuances and the complexities of our market. And and so among, let's say, the managers, the executive, we have started to say, Houston, we have a problem because we were seeing a significant margin erosion in all companies, bringing to, in general, two type of behaviors. Large companies were consolidating and buying small companies, while instead the mid-sized companies were restructuring. The private equity investments have not declined, but clearly their nature has changed. Now they are searching for lower risk deals, platform building strategies. They are checking and scrutinizing a lot all the regulatory elements. That means that they are risking less. Overall, an unprecedented number of companies are for sales and don't find a buyer. And then the realization that there is a power gap, a political power gap between the medical device and pharma. And the effect of this is that there is a much larger tax pressure on the MedTech companies versus pharma, both in the US and in Europe. Europe is introducing a lot of new taxes for the medical device while it's not put in place for the pharma. And clearly there is a lower influence in the regulation evolution. Sean, I know you're a good friend of Basil Akra. Basil Akra would tell you that clearly nobody can understand which was the trigger of the CE mark, of the new MDR CE marking regulation, because the CE marking regulation seems to be designed to kill the European market manufacturers, and nobody understands why. So overall, there is this political power is generating criticalities and pressure. Now, one of the big problems is that we have responded to those challenges in repeating the pattern of the old ways instead of trying to rethink of the problem and trying to find new solutions. And so the response has always been the focus on expanding product portfolio as the only way to drive sales. Assume that the product innovation alone will lead to market differentiation. And so no marketing teams, no budget. Reorganize internal functions with the exceptions of the sales forces. That results in sales organization. They remain anchored to outdated practice. And when I'm saying outdated practice, I think you can understand what I mean. Heavy reliance on traditional distributors, legacy sales techniques, minimal adoption of CRMs, and sales trainings that in most of the cases are product focused and never focused on improving the sales skills of the people that is in front of the client. Now, Uh, and here we are arriving to the point why I founded CommuniD, because I think that digital tools offer an unprecedented opportunity for mid-sized and small and startup companies to rethink their commercial strategy, just not in terms of what they sell, but also how they sell it. The real differentiation remains the customer relationship, but the customer relationship is not bringing your customer to play golf, is not sending him to in a nice location for a congress. It's probably more important now how to provide information, deliver training, respond to needs, and how you show flexibility. So, in my mind, what have been so far the challenges, the reason that have stopped the introduction of the digitalization of marketing are now the elements that are instead promoting this new tool. And so the first one is like they've always said, but the sales process is too complex with too many stakeholders. And it's true, yes, the sales often take 12 to 24 months, depending on the industry, but this is the time and involves surgeons or physicians, procurement, hospital boards, payers, insurance, GPOs, whatever. But this is the reason why digital can be incredibly useful to enhance and not replace the key touch points and keep them engaged throughout the whole time of the process. Then we have talked about regulatory constraints. We cannot talk about this, we cannot talk about that. But the reality is that digital can and must be smart, compliant, scalable, creating a process together with regulatory in which you can communicate and you can communicate being compliant. Then, in most of the cases, they've told us, in our market is still dominated by face-to-face relationship. Articles are showing that this is not true. Absolutely, physicians prefer to start to introduce digital elements to the face-to-face conversation, and because everybody now is used to increase the touch points, speed the level of receiving information, being able to select what you're reading instead of receiving them from a physical person. And therefore, it becomes very important to use a CRM to organize this relationship with the physician. Then there is another very important element that is different to pharma. You appreciate this, and is the use of digital procurement. Clearly, in the medical device, this is still at its infancy, but this could be a very good example to start to prepare. And then there is clearly, everybody has always said, yeah, but marketing in the medical device is simply making brochures and events. And the generation of sales leads is only up to the sales force. And it's probably time to start to build a shared plan with the focus of generating leads that will be passed to the sales force. Last one is clearly there is a huge gap in the knowledge and in the understanding of the digital process, and here this may require a little bit of investment. And so, in the very small marketing budget, there should also be the possibility of hiring or investing a little bit in digital skills. Now, and we're going to the point, to the CommuniD philosophy, if you want. We understand that Rome wasn't built in a day, and also we also understand that one model doesn't fit all. So we need to customize the thing, but start to implement little bites of this digitalization step by step using the famous Deming principle of the plan, do, check, and act could really help. And and this is where we're coming from. We're coming from the concept that is proposed by the little red book of selling of Jeffrey Gitmer, who's saying basically one point: customers buy when they are ready to buy, not when we are ready to sell. And this is incredibly true, and has two implications, if you want. That first of all, the target customer need to be aware of our solution, and think that this solution meet their needs. And then we need to make sure that the conditions are right for him to purchase. That means that there is a budget, or there is a tender, or all the various elements of the hospital budgets are met. Now, in some discussion of the salespeople trying to pitch the story from this point of view, they said, "Oh, yeah, it's right. As a matter of fact, we're not selling anymore, but we are making sure that the conditions are right to enable the selling process." So, what is changing in the new world is that we are not pushing, we are not selling, we're not convincing, but we salespeople, commercial people, are making sure that the person receives the appropriate information, that all the stakeholders of the purchasing element are receiving the same set of information, and somehow that we can nurture all those prospects throughout the long, we said 12 to 24 months, the long buying process. And through this period, we are ready to learn and see the signals that the potential buyer is giving to us. And this element of the signal is something that most of our existing marketing teams are somehow neglecting, if you want. Sales and marketing efforts are often built in silos. Website don't connect with social media, and so miss the opportunity to capture signals. LinkedIn is generally used primarily as an advertising tool. Most of the companies now are using LinkedIn, but they use as a advertising board, and they don't appreciate the huge difference between personal branding and corporate presence. Uh, we approach the events in the old way, with a passive mindset. That means that, all right, I'm displaying what I have, and if you want, you can come to me. That is definitely not the way. Uh, is not the way that we should be using in 2025, when information is widely available and nobody would come to you to understand what's new. YouTube is generally treated as a dumping ground for videos rather than a dynamic engagement platform. So what we're doing at CommuniD, we are trying to create a fil rouge across all the activities, ensuring that one supports the other, and they're all strengthening the sales process. So what we're doing is, what we teach is to leverage techniques and technologies to seamlessly guide our audience towards high impact moments, such as product demos or client site visit, using proven formats that we are sure that deliver results. Our Congress participation and medical education programs are no longer standalone events. They are all designed to be part of an overall digital campaign that then ends with the event. The process works. It's been tested, and what we've seen is generate results. It's backed by 5 years of hands-on research. Is trusted by more than 20 medical device companies, and it's built exclusively for the MedTech industry. And it's based on four processes. The first one is to create an ecosystem of resources, article, clinical data, videos, medical events, head talk videos, whatever, that clearly drive the interest uh, of the prospect and transform the prospect into a lead. Uh, you need to have a combination of open and gated content to be able to identify the signals. There is the website must be visible, not beautiful. I don't like beautiful websites. I prefer visible websites. And you need to understand that everyone is searching. Google has millions and millions of search in the healthcare every day. And you need to find ways to get into this through the Google advertisement and through new ways of advertising. There is the retargeting ads, an ad that will be seen only by the people that is interested and will not bother who is not interested today. An appropriate use of LinkedIn, understanding that there is a huge difference between the personal and the corporate profile, what you can do with the personal profile, the messaging at the right time to avoid to again bother uh, the people within the network, and leading to your resources on YouTube, on the website, or on Spotify, or in any other area. And the last one is the smart use of digital and in-person events. In this way, you can, as I said, you can create a continuum between the events to make sure that once you organize an event and you spend like 30, 40, 50, 60 and over $1,000 or pounds or euro, you really have leads at your booth. Uh, the overall objective of marketing is to create sales, is to create interesting relationship, and this is what the marketing activities should aim to, and clearly not focus on branding. Now, uh, I think I remain within the 30 minutes. That was my objective. I would stop here, and I have many other slides, but I don't think might be useful at this stage. Uh, I don't know if you guys have any question or, as I said, criticism or anything that can help me. I would really appreciate your comment and feedback.
So there have been a few comments, and I had the same comment, which is the impact of large language models, ChatGPT, etc., on search. And I mean, I've struggled with that question myself. It's like, okay, we've spent all this time optimizing for search engines, and now search engines are I go around them. I don't ask questions of search engines anymore. I ask them directly of the large language models, because I get much better results than I get with the search engines. And I'm wondering what you have to comments, thoughts.
It's uh, it's it's one of the questions, it's probably one of the questions with a capital Q. Um, I think people clearly, a lot of people are now searching. I am searching myself on ChatGPT, and I search much less on Google. Although I think there is a different type of search. So if I'm searching technologies or procedures, I tend to continue to use Google that gives better answers. But overall, it doesn't change much because at the end of the day, ChatGPT is the result of what is in the web. You need to be present in the web, and you need to be present in the web in a certain way. What I think this new trend will change is that will probably change the efficacy of the Google Ads advertising. Yes, that's something that will be changed, and uh, and that's the reason why, uh, like, we are trying to deal with campaigns that are going on Google, on Meta, on LinkedIn, on most of the tools. Uh, and I'll keep it brief because I see there are some other questions. But what I want to say is that this word is evolving every 6 months. I started in 2021. I was writing posts in a certain way. Then ChatGPT arrived, and we all started to write posts with ChatGPT because it was much better and it was giving you a certain tone and flexibility that was increasing the reach. Then we noticed that the reach of the posts written by ChatGPT was decreasing because they were all formatted in the same way. So we started to change. Things are changing very rapidly, and the search through ChatGPT is one of the elements, but it's not changing the value of what we're doing.
Next, Arlen has a question, comment, something.
Thanks for your presentation. I'm an ENT surgeon. And I have a couple of questions. One, my influence on the buying decision has deteriorated significantly over the years. Because of what you mentioned, the buying group, whether it's B2C or B2B, has significantly changed. So my question to you is, as someone that used to do, I'm doing other things now, but I did it for a while, a long time. As someone in a specialty like otolaryngology, orthopedics, ophthalmology, urology, that does a lot of ambulatory surgery stuff and runs independent practices as dwindling as they may be, how are you altering the marketing strategy from B2B to B2C? In other words, directly to me.
Let me understand if I got the essence of your question. You're asking me how manufacturers can talk to you more directly. Is
Correct.
that a
Because
question?
I'm the decision maker in the B2B, in the B2C scenario. In other words, I'm the person who runs the practice, who orders the stuff for an ambulatory surgery center that has a 90% equity stake by doctors. I'm the decision maker versus the buying group at a hospital where I am not the decision maker. At best, I'm an influencer. So how are you differentiating the conversion strategy in those two scenarios?
Let's say, first of all, most of our clients are talking directly to surgeons. And so it might sound a little bit bizarre, but let's say the methodology does not change much in the sense that we are doing exactly the same process to the surgeons, the same information sharing to the surgeons that we're doing to an executive of a medical device business in a B2B environment. If you want, what changes is the type of information, what changes is the time when this information is consumed. Surgeons tend to be more active in the weekends and much less active during the week. But overall, I don't think it changes it. If What I'm trying to say here is that I need to I need to have the evidence. I need to understand through the signals in different ways. I need to understand that you are interested in my solution. And then it is exactly the standard process of when the sales was made in a face-to-face. By the way, I don't think that in our industry we will ever be able to change the set. There is a human element that is part of it. You will still need a demo. You will probably still need to do a visitation center. It's just what is happening in this period and how I deliver the information to you that changes with the digitalization of the process. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, I mean, you answered the question. I would challenge you to change how you're thinking about that. We can talk about that offline, but I just don't think the model is the same. First of all, 80% of doctors in the United States are employed. There's all kinds of pressure and constraints on costs and access and everything else. I think the value proposition is questionable. I think commoditization of stuff. I mean, I don't know how many, just to use a simple, stupid example, I don't know how many tympanostomy tubes there are in otolaryngology, probably 50 or 60. And it's, old wine in a new bottle. So I just think the whole model, I applaud you're trying to change the approach. My concern is you're not changing it enough. You have to make the old model obsolete. You can't just change it. That's my point.
No, it's a very interesting challenge. I told you I'm 60, and I'm hearing these comments since I started 35 years ago, and this hasn't happened. So I cannot imagine this will happen in the next 20 years. What I'm saying is that okay, can we at least make a further step forward and try to improve a little bit? To me, is a
Yeah.
journey, but if we don't make the first step, it will be difficult.
Well,
Now, sorry, just to add one little element. Uh, clearly, I don't think that digitalization or all this set of information is useful when you're going into the fully commoditized. So I think that probably this element starts to become relevant when you have a new robot or a new surgical procedure or some level of marginal differentiation that make the information useful, because when the products are all exactly the same, probably the only real differentiating element is the price. And in this case, marketing does not exist.
my final comment is that if you don't think things are going to change in 20 years, I significantly disagree with that. And I think that the wild card is artificial intelligence. And we can say that, yeah. But I think that anything that can be measured can be automated with artificial intelligence. And the MedTech marketing industry is not taking advantage of that opportunity.
Hmm.
I love this comment. I hope that you're right. It's clear there are some elements that are there are boosters of the overall situation. Like everybody's saying the same, but the pandemic has clearly uh, improved and sped, increased the speed, the acceleration of certain changes. Uh, I hope that artificial intelligence will make a further improvement. I'm with you. I told you, I founded this company because I strongly believe that this is a necessary change. I hope I will be able to see it.
I think a number of things to your comment, Arlen, and it's interesting because I also work in marketing and I've watched the medtech industry resist change, resist change, resist change, resist change like you wouldn't believe, for many decades. And the reason behind that is the C-suite wants to see a 4 to 10x return on investment on anything that they purchase. The middle managers are risk averse and want to send their children to Swarthmore, and the end users are absolutely resistant to change. I think that the resistance to change is probably going to get run over by AI. I think that probably what we're going to see is a lot of winner take all behavior in the marketplace. And we're going to see a lot of the people who are laggards and who are resistant to changing get sort of wiped out like a tidal wave, and or tsunami, take your pick. And the I see what you're saying, and yet at the same time, every few years there's a giant buzzword in the community, and this is going to take over, and this is going to revolutionize everything. And for as much as companies, marketers in particular, like to use the word revolutionize, I have never seen a revolution in the marketing world. And so I've seen changes. When I started, we were doing direct mail and telemarketing. The internet did not exist. However, um, there are certain things where you're like, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. It's the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so, yes. But the fundamental point that he made about buyers buy when they're ready to buy, not when you're ready to sell to them, etc. There are things that are gonna remain constant. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what anybody else thinks of that. I'd love to hear from Paul D'Souza, for example, or um, anyone else that has comments on this.
You have to promote Paul.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
Carrie, opinions, thoughts?
You all know change is bad. It's going to take them, 20 years to change. Right, Jose?
I just
There's
thought
Paul.
about this typical phase model with the change management where you first have the shock period and then resistance and then goes to emotional acceptance, like this little curve. You know
It's
that?
grief. It's all grief.
It's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, all the
you.
5 changes.
Scary.
It's all great.
That is literally on my About Me page, is the stages of regulatory grief on my website.
Yeah, it's the 5 phases of recovery, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
I
Michelle.
mean, I did it for dentistry. It's taken how many years to be recovering dentist? It's years.
So since Sean kind of put me on the spot there, listen, the fundamentals of sales are the fundamentals, and like you said, Sean, the fundamentals don't change, right? The more we change, the more we stay the same. But AI is definitely changing the cadence of communication, and the opportunity, and it's just, this is the way it's everywhere today. If companies don't embrace it, what's going to happen is, like, remember, it was okay to send a letter. At first, it was okay to send a pigeon, and then if it showed up, you got the communication, right? Then we'd send letters, and then we remember the faxes, and now it's instant. That just happens, and AI is allowing us to do exactly what you said. Allow the customer to engage with us when the customer wants to engage. So I'm designing these sales narratives and engagements I've actually removed the word marketing and I've removed the word sales from our operational lexicon, if you will, because it's really about, are you driving engagement? And if the engagement is seductive enough, engaging enough, informative enough, that prospect will convert and say, will opt in. So you're looking for engagement and conversion, engagement and conversion. And the more you engage with value, the more the customer will opt in for a deeper engagement with you. And now you sell once, you service forever, you do a conversion, you're dropping your cost. And AI is allowing you to do that engagement at a much lower cost. Right? And how you leverage AI is where the magic's at. Like I was just on a call with Labyrinth. We're designing models and sales pitches and decks and allowing the customer to put their hand up and say, that's interesting. And now my cost of sale dropped. So anyway, my 2 cents.
I would also add that I think there's a significant gap in an understanding and execution of sales operations. This is all about data-driven decision-making.
Yep.
And again, whatever you can measure can be automated.
Yep.
That is, I think, something that will significantly and is changing sales operations. So, how many people you can fill the funnel, get rid of the people that aren't interested, march them through the process and convert is something that used to take a very long time and a lot of effort, and now doesn't take as much time. Oh, and by the way, as many people to do it. So what you're saying is sales operations contracting and firing people that used to do this stuff by hand, but now gets automated.
Totally.
And then the rubber meets the road when it comes to, okay, I'm ready to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff before that gets automated. And whether it's design thinking and getting into the head of the customer or understanding their wants and needs, it's all the buzzwords. But, all the stuff up front can be automated until it's time for a human to talk to a human.
And to your point, Arlen, right? It's this idea of being findable. Because whatever you send, whatever call you leave, whichever golf, in the old days, we take, I'm the old sales guy, right? I take people golfing and this and that, doctors, and take them out to lunch and then. But now when there's a need by an administrator, by a doctor, by a surgeon for something, they will go search for it. With AI, you can be findable. You have to be findable. Create content that is findable and then create a intelligent engagement model online that converts, right? The opt-in close, just remember that, findable and opt-in close. Those are the two things I'm always looking for. Are you findable at the time of need? So you got to have a lot of data points out there so that the algorithms catch you and present you. And you've got to embed with all the right linguistics, and they used to call it in the old days SEO. It's different now, it's not SEO. But are you findable at scale and hyper-targeted to your audience? And then when they have an interest, this is where most companies fail. They don't have an online version because nobody wants to talk to a sales guy, however good looking we are, right? Nobody wants to talk to us. That's why they say, don't let Paul go out alone. I always have a subject matter expert. But a lot of that now, people, they want to manage it themselves. They want to check. They want to see the reviews. They want to see this. They want to see proof points. They don't want to talk to people. And this is where companies fail. And I'm actually, yesterday got an opportunity with somebody, well-established services company. No, they don't have a sales process. The CEO is closing all deals with relationships. That's not scalable. Allow your prospects to engage and convert at will for them when it makes sense to their business. That drops everybody's cost. That's going to Arlen, your point of sales ops.
Paul, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Yeah, because I love your concept of eliminating the word sales and
Marketing.
and marketing and talking about conversion and engagement is excellent. I don't know if you have any article about this. I would love to read it.
I wish I put it in my book when I wrote the book on
Oh,
sales.
great! So I
My
will
next
buy the book.
my
I
next
will buy
flips.
the book. Excellent. No, but but here you're talking about AI, but to me, the problem is that 80% of the mid-sized companies still don't have a CRM. So you don't have the AI because you don't have the foundation for the AI. You don't have the data. And how do you build all? So, yes, I agree with you. By the way, I still think that we should go playing tennis or golf with the surgeons. It's a human interaction, and that's absolutely normal. But this is in addition to all the information that you were saying. The point here is how do I get this set of information?
My biggest, I'm doing it right now, by the way. I'm doing it with our group here with the Foundry. The best way to go is find those points of connection where you can engage. So leverage, 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 right? Find networks, find of people, organizations, and find these. Get very creative on how you engage with groups of people that could potentially be your clients. And this is where art comes in, right? This is where the design of an offer is critical. Right? This is where seduction, it has a positive impact. Like you have to design an offer that speaks to the emotion of the people, to the economics of their business interest. No longer features and all that. How I got a new Ferrari. No, when we talk about a business solution or a product, we have to talk about the economic metrics that make this thing valuable, or the professional reasons why somebody needs to look at this. Like I got bounced with Labyrinth. I got bounced by a geothermal company. They said, no, you guys don't know what we're talking about. And I was offering them a $45,000 solution. My team said, so I fell on my sword. I said, I'm sorry, I don't think we designed it properly. Let me come back to you. 2 weeks later, I got back to them. I told the team, guys, take the gloves off, no swim lanes. How do you think we should help this company? Because they gave us a reference point. I went from a $45,000 solution to $5.4 million. I said, we did it wrong, but I think this is what my team said is the right way to do it. It's 6 people, it's 9 people, 6 months. I didn't put the number there because I didn't want to scare the fish. And he came back and said, that sounds right. And we got re-engaged. My point is, nothing about our solution was attractive until I framed it in their world and their reality. This is what I'm asking you to do. What if you have an offer that a surgeon needs? You've got to figure out, when do they think about this? Which problem are you solving for them, and when do they think about the problem? I don't solve problems. I only solve funded problems. So the question is, when do they have a need that is funded, it's relevant, timely, and you need to understand your customers so much that you can preempt. It's like dancing. You've got to know how to get in cadence with your customers and get in sync with their business cycle, their buying cycles. There are no sales cycles. There are only buying cycles. They are in control. And you've got to surrender to and understand. And this is where humility comes in, where you say, I know my customer. Right? And that's how you find these people. It's not easy. But AI helps. Right? AI helps. You can find these lists, you can figure out where the conferences are, you can cross-reference attendees. It's amazing what the marketing guys can do with AI. It's almost like shooting fish in a barrel.
I would offer 2 other tips. One is engage the ecosystem economy, not the individual buyer.
Totally.
And second, you don't ignore the changing buyer persona of this generation of physicians. They are totally different than me.
Yep.
They're expecting you to connect with them via social media. And if you don't do that, you're not meeting their needs.
Yep.
Very interesting. Thank you both for your comments. Does anybody else want to comment? Michelle, I was thinking of you. while he was giving the presentation, because I was thinking about claims, and I was thinking about the interaction of the regulatory um, in the process. So Elvio, on your slides, you showed, alignment with regulatory at a certain point in the process, but, a huge part of that for the medical device sector is claims, and the kind of claims that can be made sort of like through social media comments, like that count, like where I mean, I see a lot of really questionable stuff on Instagram, a lot of the time, and like what that seems highly illegal to me. You know, so yeah, Michelle, do you have anything?
Um, yeah, so I think that it's important that regulatory and marketing kind of stay in lockstep so that marketing knows where their boundaries are at all times, and they can go up to them, because marketing usually wants to like shoot past them. Like, and so one thing that we did my last industry job is we had like a whole controlled claim set that the engineers and the marketing people were allowed to use in any configuration that they chose to. But then we had some things that are like, these things are too far. So it gave them some guide rails.
You have to. It has to go through doc control, all of your labeling claims. The last few, I mean, I
Website.
can't tell you how many letters the FDA sends out for claims. And there's a company I won't say because it'll show up on all of your medias if I even say the word out loud, but they'll get they'll get letters in the
I
mail
like that.
for it.
They'll get on.
They'll
It's a
be on
verb
all
now.
of your wherever, because it like automatically pops up everywhere. I mean, it's awful, but you'll get letters from the FDA and the agency on all of, Amazon everywhere.
Mhm. And you need to also think about, you need a procedure to review what people are posting on your social media in comments. Do they like qualify as complaints? Do they infer things that like unintended uses, you know?
Because guess what? They have well, I don't know if they're still employed, but there's a whole group at the agency that's specifically looking at social media. So
Exactly. All they do all day long is troll the internet.
So Faisal has a hand raised. I'd like to give him a moment, and then wind things down. Do I need? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can just chime in on that part of it, of being a regulatory professional myself, because social media, I mean, I remember in the beginning, it was very much hands off. We would just give some sort of a guideline and say, that's it, don't even go there, don't even go on social media. My experience is that, yes, you definitely need to keep on top of it. And maybe even, I mean, what could be worth seeing is regulatory professionals that specialize even more in it and are definitely more in a lockstep with the marketing people, so that they can try and figure out what is actually doable, and how can you even configure those social media channels so that you can allow people to do more. So yeah, I hear what you're talking about, and I concur. It's the same here in Scandinavia. We are dealing with the same, maybe even being a little more conservative when it comes to some of these things.
So we have 2 minutes left. I'd like to give those 2 minutes to Elvio to bring us home, and thank him for joining us. I think he did an excellent job. This is an exciting topic.
No, I thank you, Sean, and I thank everyone for the comments. Really, first of all, I'm definitely going to buy immediately Paul's book. I found his idea extremely inspiring, and I want to thank everyone's comment with regards to the regulatory. You know, my wife works in regulatory, so I have these type of fights almost every day. But yeah, we're not trying to get out. We're trying to do our job.
They're dances,
No, what I think we need
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
is a
Paul?
friend.
Totally. Vamonos. Let's dance.
Sometimes it's salsa, spicy.
Oh, totally. I used to run a salsa nightclub in my young days when I had
Correct. You're Italian. You're supposed to.
But I think digitalization as is helping marketing people to speak with salespeople, or now I don't know if you want to continue to use sales and marketing based on Paul's comment, but let's say as is helping sales and marketing people to start to talk together. I think will also help the regulatory and the marketing to speak together and to find a common ground. Uh, Social media, I don't, sorry, I don't remember the name of the guy from Scandinavia that commented.
Faisal.
Yes, social media is not going away. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, it's not going away. So we need to find a way to be able to communicate, and to be able to communicate in an ethical way. First of all, ethical, and then compliant with the different global regulations.
It's like the dance floor, baby. It's like you don't just force yourself on somebody to dance. It's an invitation. You put your hand out.
And we
Respect.
need to dance.
You don't
Exactly.
step on each other's toes. It
Yeah,
hurts.
it's exactly that. Yeah, and technology is allowing you to do and AI allows you to really fine tune that. Literally, trust me. Let's have a conversation about the opt-in close. That should be my next book, and that's exactly what I'm doing. It's amazing, and then those deals stick. So anyway, I can go on, as you can tell.
Just because Scandinavians have big feet doesn't mean you can step on them.
No.
And on that note,
We don't
right?
like to rock the boat. We just,
I think, Gary, you and I
Smile
should
and
do
wave,
one of these
smile and
Friday
wave,
mornings.
that's-
We should come up with something.
I would like
Giving
to.
me spice for your book, Paul, you know.
Yeah.
It is the summer
Forward by
solstice.
Carrie
It's
Britton.
midsummer. It's the happy midsummer. It's a summer
Right.
solstice. It's a little of everything. Longest day of the year.
Carrie, it should be the title of your book or something. Your program should be "Let's Dance," right? AI, FDA, and sales.
Can't use the word sales. You said it.
Right? Engagement, yeah, but you got to bring people in. So
This is true. How not to say the word sales. Sean.
Just a reminder to everybody, I'm looking for you to submit article ideas, so please get on with that. Stefan Ruskinski is gonna be, I'm probably saying his name wrong, clinical evaluation pathways for CE marking next week, and we will not be having a call on July the 4th.
Oh,
So
come on.
No, we're not. And
Okay.
it was a group decision. And however, I'd like each one of you to bring a friend who needs to know about clinical evaluation pathways for CE marking next week, so that we can continue to grow this group. It's important that we grow this group so that we can reach a critical mass and really support one another to further all of our careers. And I think everybody can get on board with that. So I'm asking for your help, and we'll see you next week.